You're listening to Math and Magic, a production of iHeartRadio.
And those guys, they actually looked at the July issue that I had prototyped, and they said, "This is fabulous. But what would you do next July?" And I said, "Well, living is a limitless subject matter."
Welcome to iHeart. We're doing a live episode of my podcast, Math and Magic, and we're here celebrating a great friend of mine who has got her 100th book. Congratulations, Martha. I think I met Martha on about book number 2 or 3. We were trying to remember how long it's been. She is a podcaster with us, as well as being probably the most famous and influential lifestyle brand. Indeed, she is one of those one-word people, Martha. She is also author, TV host, product creator, and she was even the first self-made female billionaire. Martha's life reminds me of that old Chinese proverb, those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. Martha has always been that risk taker who has completely ignored the conventional wisdom and wins again and again and again. Books, catering, TV show or magazine. She was, by the way, even in the Paris Olympics. Anybody see that? It's interesting if I think about Martha, and I've known her a long time, why she's so successful. One, she has this incredible vision, but she also has a tenacity. And she has a way of bringing new ideas, doing it a different way, but she brings it over the finish line again and again. Martha, welcome.
Thank you very much, Bob Pittman.
Before we dig in, I want to do a little feature we call You in 60 Seconds. And it's sort of lightning round style.
Who makes these things up?
I make these up. Come on. Okay, so here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Do you prefer cats or dogs?
Cats.
Early riser or night owl?
Very early riser.
West Coast or East Coast?
East Coast.
Maine or New York?
Maine.
Salty. Oh, we have one person from Maine. Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Coffee or tea?
I like both.
Streaming video or podcast?
Streaming video, sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh. A knife to the heart. Introvert or extrovert?
I think I'm an extrovert.
Eat out or order in?
Eat out.
Good.
I have never ordered in.
Ever?
No.
I'm going to tell you how it works. First, you...
Never.
Casa Draconis tequila or CBD?
Oh, Casa Draconis.
Oh, God, thank you. Comedy or drama?
Drama.
Christmas or Thanksgiving?
New Year's.
Call or text?
Call or text? I hate text. Call.
Okay, about to get a little harder. Favorite luxury vacation?
Where I haven't been.
Favorite vegetable?
Vegetable.
Secret talent?
Secret talent? Juggling?
That's a good one. And the last one, the piece of technology you can't do without.
Oh my gosh, my iPad.
All right, let's get started. You and your book. First, did you ever think you were going to wind up writing 100 books?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, it's just a minor goal.
So tell us what makes this book different. What's the theme and the idea and the vision of Martha the Cookbook?
This is the book. It's called Martha the Cookbook. It's 100 of my favorite recipes. Not all, I have a lot more favorite recipes, but 100 of my favorite recipes. And it's nice because it incorporates not only a really good, authentic, and well-tested recipe, but also a lot of archival photographs that people hadn't seen before, as well as sort of backstories for each of the recipes. And it's sort of hitting a chord this year. I think it's with a documentary that came out, and it came out big time. It's a very, very nice. And I do have can I brag one minute?
Yeah, please.
I was just called before I came here tonight, and it has reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list before it even got into the bookstores. Isn't that great?
That is fantastic.
Yeah, #1.
Congratulations. Come on, give her a big round of applause. I want to ask you just a little bit about the cooking part. You've cooked meals for me over the years. You were at my 40th birthday, and then you cooked for me my 41st birthday. But it seems so effortless. And it just, you always do this at ease. I've been at your house, and it's just like things happen. How does that happen? What is the secret to that?
It's just being relaxed, I think, and being able to do such a thing, and to be interested in doing such a thing. I love to cook. I love to entertain. I have made a company on those subjects, and it's just part of my lifestyle. And it's always fun to have friends over. It's always fun to see what they respond to and what they like.
Now, were you that kind of cook before you started your catering company?
Oh, yes. In 1961, I got married in, I think it was 1961. And I went to Paris and I bought Julia Child, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Volume 1. And I'm the original Julie. Remember there's that movie, Julia and Julie? Well, I'm Julie. I should have done the movie then. But I cooked every single recipe and I entertained our friends on Riverside Drive. I lived in 290 Riverside Drive on 101st Street in a beautiful apartment looking over the Hudson River, where we looked out the window when people were going to Woodstock. Remember Woodstock?
Oh, yes.
Did you go to Woodstock?
No, I was in Mississippi.
You weren't even born.
Yes, I was. And I was in Mississippi. It'd been a long way to drive
but
to
I
Woodstock.
watched all the cars go up the West Side Drive. I kept thinking, why aren't I going up there? You know, I should have, would have, could have. But it was so much fun. And that's what I did. I really did love to cook and love to entertain.
And how did that turn into the catering business? I know you were on Wall Street for a while, and then you suddenly wound up in the catering business.
When I quit Wall Street after about 7 or 8 years, I was an institutional stockbroker dealing with people like the Manufacturers Hanover Bank. There used to be a bank called Manufacturers Hanover. And Manny Hanny. And my clients were like Fidelity up in Boston and a lot of other impressive investors. And when I quit, I went to Westport, Connecticut to raise my daughter and to start a business. And it was catering. It was just something that interested me. I don't know why, because nothing is harder than running a catering business. You set up a restaurant every single night somewhere, and you take all the food to it somewhere, and then you break it down at the end of the night, and you drag yourself home. And it's a really difficult job.
But when you started, catering was much more of, wasn't it cheese on Ritz crackers? And
not mine.
I know. And suddenly you came in with this whole new approach to catering.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I mean, you must have looked and said, oh, this is the way you do catering, or did you just not notice?
I loved good food. I had traveled a little bit by that time, and I had eaten in the very finest restaurants. My husband lived in a building when he was growing up. He lived in the Ritz Tower, and they used to have a restaurant downstairs, which was room service for their apartment at the Ritz Tower. And they had, it was the Pavillon. You ever hear of the Pavillon restaurant? So I got to eat a lot of that good Pavillon food. And plus, I grew up with great food. My mother was a great cook. Country cook, Polish and peasant dishes, but delicious. And then no one would turn down anything in our house.
And so then you turned that into books.
Yeah, well, then I realized that if I didn't do something with all this great stuff I was doing, these parties I was creating for people, not myself so much, that if I ever did have grandchildren, they would say, what did Grandma do with her life? And I thought, well, maybe I should write a book about it. So we started to photograph all the parties, and it turned into entertaining. My first book in 1982, and that book really did strike a very, very, very strong chord with the housewives of America, because they realized that they could also entertain, they could cook, they could set a pretty table, they could collect, they could have a nicer life than they were having. And so it really made a difference.
So let's jump a little bit. Time and Warner merge, create Time Warner. You and I known each other before then, and so I was on the inside there, and I remember there were two things you wanted to do. One was a magazine and one was a TV show. That was sort of a big jump. Where did you get the idea? And I want to paint a picture that Time Inc. couldn't have been more straight-laced, more sort of male-dominated. How on earth did you get that magazine through?
Well, I wanted to, I was writing a book a year at that time. I after entertaining my publisher, Clarkson Potter, who is still my publisher. This is a Clarkson Potter book. Isn't that funny?
That's loyal.
Yeah, that's loyalty. on their part and on my part, actually. And so I thought, what else could I do? I like writing the books, but what else could I do to actually maximize the subject matters that I liked so much? So I took an idea of a beautiful how-to book series to Clarkson Potter. They passed on it. They said, we're going to do some garden books and we'll do stuff, but you can't do more than a book a year anyway. And now I'm doing 4 books a year. So I thought, well, the other format that I could do is a magazine. So I went first to Condé Nast, to Cy Newhouse, who was very receptive. He gave me enough money to do a prototype, and he liked me and I liked him. He was really smart. And when I came up with the prototype, he said, well, what do you want it to be called? And I said, Martha Stewart Living. And he said, well, it can be living, but it has to be Condé Nast Living, because that's my company. And I said, but I don't want it to be Condé Nast. I want it to be Martha Stewart. Somehow I knew that branding was important. So he said, here's the prototype, go somewhere else. And I took it to Rupert Murdoch. And I met with Rupert. I loved Rupert so much. Now he's Fox News and all that horrible stuff. I thought he was he walked into the room and everybody and all the men in the room just like melted in comparison. And he said, I'm closing magazines, so it's not a good time for me to, I'm selling 17, I'm getting rid of everything. So he said, take it to Time, they'll probably take it. So I met with all the hunchos at Time, and I showed them the prototype. And those guys, they actually looked at the July issue that I had prototyped, and they said, this is fabulous. But what would you do next July? And I said, well, living is a limitless subject matter. They didn't get that. They thought 1 July was enough. And yet they gave me the money, and they gave me a 50-50 partnership on the magazine. And I made them write it on a piece of paper. We had an actual agreement. And we started publishing the magazine. It was a success from day one.
That was a huge success.
It was a huge success. And it was the first really multi-subject lifestyle magazine. And beautifully photographed and
with a clear vision.
That's right.
With
a person's vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about the TV show.
Well, then I came, about a year and a half later, I said, there's this thing called synergy, which remember they didn't like synergy?
I remember. I remember.
Boy, they did not like the word synergy. It was a filthy, dirty word, but I love the word synergy. I thought, they said, well, you're going to cannibalize your magazine. If you go on television, nobody's going to buy the magazine. I said, that you're wrong. There are people who read magazines and there are people who watch television. And some people do both, but they're not going to turn one off to jeopardize the other. And I was right. And it worked. So we had a daily television show after a couple of years, and it was great. But in retrospect, I should have concentrated more on other things, not just a daily television. Daily television show eats you alive.
Yes, it does eat you alive.
It does. It eats you alive.
You did the books, you did the magazine, you did the TV show. You went on to do your company, made a lot of money, public company, made a big splash. But at what point along the way did you realize that you had something special and you had something no one else did?
I concentrated really on getting everything done well. And we had the best team. I was the CEO. I had the best president. I had the best lawyer, the best legal officer. I had the best CFO. Everybody was really young and vital. And I was in my 40s by the time I did this. So I close to 50 when I started my big business. But it was a lot of fun. And really choosing like-minded people to work with you really made a huge difference in the success of the company. And they all went off to do amazing things, everybody.
Well, by the way, it was such a creative factory. I remember when you started.
And we paid the creatives the same as we paid the business people. That was one of my absolute rules of the company, was the creatives have to be paid. I mean, in Hollywood, the creatives get paid more than most of the executives. So why not in a magazine world?
Tonight, we've got a lot of advertising industry people here. What advice would you have for them about building, maintaining, and evolving a brand? There can't be a brand any clearer than yours, but it has evolved so much over the years that it somehow has managed to keep pace.
Well, I think what you have to make sure is that you stay authentic to the basic tenets of the brand. We have a whole list of things that our brand stands for, which is beauty, practicality, authenticity, usefulness, all those very simple words, but they really fit all together nicely. And if you do stick to that and make fabulous products, I started here on the retail pyramid. You can start up here like Armani or Balenciaga, but I started down here with Kmart because I thought the masses in America especially needed highest quality at the best possible pricing. And I gave them the information in the magazine. Those people down here are reading what everybody up here is reading too. Everybody wants to learn. And I always love students. And I think that if you understand that your audience is intelligent and wants to learn and wants to enjoy, then you can make a brand.
I think you've also proved that their taste is not limited to people with a lot of money.
No way.
Taste is not bounded or limited by money either. You are, in talking about the brand, you've done a masterful job of the evolution. Pre-internet 80s.
I'm glad you call it evolution and not reinvention. People are calling it reinvention.
No.
I don't reinvent myself. I'm the same person. I clean out the chicken coops.
By the way, I had chickens once in Connecticut. You came over and you said, and I had concrete floors. You said, the chicken's feet are cold. You have to change this. So I don't know if you remember that, but that was the Martha Stewart advice about my chicken coop.
Mine have wooden floors.
Yeah, of course it have wooden floors. I ran out and got some wood. I gotta do the right thing. But you've done a masterful job of this evolution. That somehow you've managed to sort of stay synced up to where the world is going, where it is. Is that conscious or intuitive?
I think it's both. I want to make sure that I am where people need and want me, my information and my teaching and my things that we create. It's all about need and want. And if you keep that in mind, and everybody needs stuff and everybody wants stuff, and just how do they get it? Who provides it is the important thing.
Well, it's interesting. Even you as the brand have evolved. I mean, I think about that, and I'm not much of a roast watcher, but the Bieber roast was pretty amazing. There you were, Martha Stewart's going to get up and talk, and everybody has something in their head, and then you start trying to go, what? But you just got it. You got sort of what you needed to be at that moment.
That's about the fearlessness. I mean, you have to be pretty fearless to get up with that crowd and say those horrible things. And take the horrible things that they're saying about you, by the way. They said horrible things about me. And you just have to, what about my period? Remember that one? Oh my God. It was in the Pleistocene era or something.
There is a lot of talk about work-life balance, especially among Gen Zs. You seem to be more on the work-life integration. Any insights?
Forget the balance. There's no such thing as balance. You cannot balance. It just doesn't work out. I mean, it's a lie. Whatever people say, I have the most balanced life, they do not. And you can ask pretty much anybody, and truthfully, they will tell you that it's very, very almost impossible to be balanced. Don't you agree?
I agree 100%. Maybe I've rationalized the life-work balance is over your lifetime. So those years in which I didn't work, 0 to 15 or whatever, and I took about 7 or 8 years off, I'm counting that to somehow it never works that way. What role, we talked a little bit about your adventures, and we mentioned a couple. I know you've done a lot, and that aren't what you would think Martha Stewart would be doing. How does those adventures off the beaten path, inform your life and your business?
Well, I've been lucky that I've been able to travel to distant places, to unusual places. I love to take other people on trips too. And for a few years, like 7 years, I took all my nieces and nephews to exotic, wonderful places for their Christmas vacations. No parents allowed. And it changed their lives. They've all turned out to be really, really fabulous young people now. They were from 10 to maybe 16 when I was dragging dragging them around the world. But these were fun trips, like Egypt with the leading Egyptologist from Yale University for 10 days. That's a pretty fabulous trip. We're going to Rome. And I bought the keys to the Sistine Chapel. I bought the keys to the Colosseum. And I bought the keys to this is a good way to spend money. And I bought the keys to the Basilica. And we're going and spending 4 days going to these places at off hours.
Oh, that's great.
It's going to be so much fun for them. And they've been to all 7 continents. They want to go to Namibia for Christmas. I mean, it's going to be 100 degrees there, but they don't care. They want to go see the rhinos, before there's no rhinos. So that's what I like to spend my time doing. Again, educating and enjoying at the same time.
How does it seep into the way you see the world, your taste, your product?
Well, it makes me kind of sad when you go around the world and see nature, see the environment, see all of that stuff, and try to stay optimistic. When you go to Antarctica and the icebergs are calving while you're looking at them, and great big tidal waves are coming at your boat because the global warming is occurring at a rapid rate, all of that gets pretty scary. But if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it, and are you going to be able to do it? So my theory is do it now, do it as fast as you can, see as much as you can, and try to learn from it and try to help.
So let's end with some advice. Got a lot of marketing people here. What are they missing? I mean, you've been marketing your whole life, whether you call yourself a marketer or not. You've been one of the most spectacular marketers I know.
I like
what are they missing? What don't they know?
I think they forget that everybody really wants to learn stuff. And it's not so easy. It's not so easy to learn and to have access to information that's pertinent to everyday life. And I've worked with so many people for so long that I really believe everybody's a student. And everybody is encouraged with a dissemination of really interesting information. I mean, how to clean your shower. You think that's so mundane. People listen to me when I tell them how to clean their shower. And they want to know. They really want to know. Some simple things like that. How to get the seeds out of a pomegranate. And now with Instagram, things have changed because now you can know everything on Instagram. It's so great. And I try to make use of those tools too, the social media tools to teach.
Second piece of advice. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your 21-year-old self?
Be more careful. Don't be so blasé. I was blasé. I trusted a couple of people I should never have trusted.
It all worked out well.
Could have been better.
Martha, congrats on Book 100, your podcast, and all you're doing. Thanks for sharing with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to Math and Magic, a production of iHeart Podcasts. The show is hosted by Bob Pittman. Special thanks to Sydney Rosenblum for booking and wrangling our wonderful talent, which is no small feat. The Math and Magic team is Jessica Kreinchich, Bahid Frazier, and Julia Weaver. Our executive producers are Ali Perry and Nikki Etor. Until next time.